hockey. Let's do that hockey.
Well, it can't be a one-man show out there. Gotta have all the boys involved. Gotta be willing to go to the dirty areas.
Hey, what's up, all you NHL and all you hockey fans? Kevin Weeks here. Just want to say welcome to the Power Play Podcast.
Ooh, welcome into another edition of the Power Play Podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Vinny Milani, joined, as always, by Anthony, the backup. What's up, buddy? Welcome into the new era of the Power Play Podcast.
Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. Yeah. It's great to be here. It's great to be here. Finally going to talk some hockey after 2.5 years of us being on ice. We're back.
Well, not on ice, like minus the ice. Because if we were on ice, I feel like that'd be a good thing because we're talking hockey here. Like that would be a good thing to be on ice.
That was the pun, buddy. You missed it.
But it wasn't. But like the pun didn't actually make sense.
It was the joke, and you
either way, and we're not going to get into it. With this, there will be plenty of that along the show of me trying to call it Anthony, but me actually being wrong. We've got a great show ahead of us, though. We have a ton of notes. We're not going to miss a beat. We're not going to miss a beat. I know we were gone for a while. We're back now. We're not missing a beat. There's been tons of trades and action going on around the NHL, including one involving our beloved New York Rangers. We've got that coming up, and we're bringing back some old segments here. Start, sits, call-ups will be in today's show, as well as a great main event breaking down what is to come in the trade deadline. Anthony, let's start off. We're going to start things off. I know I told you the rundown of the show, and we're actually going off script because I changed it.
Here we go.
I changed it recently because I want to do this. I want to break things down because I feel like it's necessary for the fans, necessary for us to dive back into things by diving right into what has taken place today. If what happened today didn't happen, we wouldn't be starting off here. But because today almost felt like the trade deadline, I feel like we have to start here going over some of the big moves that took place today, which means Friday might be pretty pointless for a lot of teams. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the big one here, Anthony. Patrick Kane gets sent to the New York Rangers finally, along with Cooper Zek, who's a prospect, 24-year-old prospect from Michigan, heading to the New York Rangers in exchange for a conditional 2023 second-round pick, a 2025 fourth-round pick to Chicago. And
did you say 2023 and 2025, bud?
Yep, that's what it is.
You mean 2023 and 2025?
2023 second round pick. Yeah,
that's not how you say it, but
in 2020, a second round pick in 2023 and a fourth round pick in 2025 heads to Chicago, along with Arizona being sprinkled in there with a third round pick in 2025, heading their way to take on 25% of Patrick Kane's salary to make things work for the cap-strapped Rangers. Anthony, let's start with this trade. I know it was crazy this weekend for Ranger fans to watch what was happening with their lineup and their roster management, but the deal is done. You said we'll wait and see. It's here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's been almost a discouraging week leading up to this because as Ranger fans, we've watched our team dress 11-7 the past few games and not look good. We see Lindgren get hurt. And then, this trade with Patrick Kane is just hanging in the balance. It's like, is it going to happen? Is it not? I actually texted you earlier today. I said, it's not happening. I said, I've never seen a trade be dragged out to this extent with a team that, honestly, with the Rangers had no business cap-wise being able to sign Kane. Well, thank God for Arizona, where legends go to get their cap.
Shea Weber, the latest.
Chris Pronger, Shea Weber welcoming some of Kane's salary with open arms there.
Pavel Datsyuk, another one.
Yeah, some great players. Arizona, if Arizona ever has an outdoor game, they'll have a hell of an alumni team.
Oh yeah, that would be fantastic. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, but how it affects the lineup, I mean, whether you're going to put Kane on in the first line or it looks like he's going to be slotted in for the second line. I mean, he's going to be making Trocheck's just worlds better. His centerman, he's going to be feeding passes. He's going to be scoring goals. I've heard a lot of chatter about like Kane getting a little older and not having the best season in Chicago. I think that the remedy for that is playing on Broadway when it really matters. Coming into the arena, it's going to be I think Patrick Kane's gonna be a huge addition for our New York Rangers. It's gonna be it's gonna be great. I know tomorrow night, or not tomorrow night, but Thursday night, depending on when you're listening. Thursday night against Ottawa, he's in the lineup. I'm pumped. I'm jacked. I can't wait to see him in that Ranger blue. It's gonna be amazing. But yeah, I can't think of a bigger trade in recent memory, especially after they got Tarasenko. You think they're done, and then they keep tooling with Kane. I think the Rangers have solidified themselves as I mean, maybe a little biased, but I typically am more negative than anything about the Rangers. Honestly,
Yeah,
it solidifies them as a bona fide team to be reckoned with in the East. The problem with that is, not to get too derailed here, is there's too many teams in the East that are not to be reckoned with. I'm not sure if you have this on the dock or not. I didn't look. I'm sorry, bud. But
it's okay.
The Toronto Maple Leafs traded for Luke Schenn today.
Yeah, I didn't. I honestly, I stopped filling out the rest of the doc because I was starting to load up like all the trades that happened, but realized like there's been so much in the past few days, and obviously we've been out of commission for a little bit, so really that we have a lot of catching up to do with the trades that have already went down before the deadline. Like I said before,
well, this one just happened today. Luke Schenn happened today.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, Toronto's largest problem, and that they don't ever address, is defense, and they went out and got 2 defensemen today. Namely Luke Schenn. That's huge for them, and they're going to be a monster too. I think we also talked a little bit earlier today, just in our text messages, that teams like the Devils, Hurricanes, Leafs, Rangers, these are teams that are just built for it to go on runs, and 2 of the 4 teams I just mentioned will get knocked out in the first round because they're going to be playing each other, which is a problem. Which we might get into later.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. I'm heated on that. I am so heated on the playoff format that you're definitely gonna be hearing about that a lot later. But I agree with you 100%. I think Toronto has done a fantastic job with this deadline addressing their needs. I think I'm not a big Ilya Samsonov fan. I think that when the inevitable happens, they meet Andrei Vasilevsky and the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round. I know Vazzy hasn't had the best of seasons so far, but those types of goalies just are a different breed when playoffs come around. And I think when you look at the matchup on paper against Tampa Bay Lightning, they match up well, except for net, which could end up being the turning point there. But that's for many shows to come on the Power Play Pod. I think that they obviously, for Toronto's sake, they did get Ryan O'Reilly. They got all those guys. They got Luke Schenn. Address those needs. It's been fantastic. But shifting it back over to the Rangers, you brought up one thing that I think that needs to be mentioned here is where Patrick Kane is going to slot in. And the bottom 2 lines for the New York Rangers, I think, are set at this point. We're locking those in. It's the kid line, Capo, Hedel, and Lafreniere. And then the 4th line of Barclay Goodrow, Tyler Mott, and Jimmy Vesey, which Jimmy Vesey goes down to the 4th line. He was playing on the top line and playing well. He wasn't playing bad. So that's a big boost for the New York Rangers. But now it's to see who plays with Panarin, like where Kane and Tarasenko fits in. Because I don't think the Rangers have yet to find where Tarasenko perfectly fits in. And now they're going to have the addition of Kane. There's going to be a lot of line juggling. I know that makes a lot of Ranger fans a little upset. But from now until really close to the playoffs, you'll see a lot of figuring out who fits where. And as for Chicago, Anthony, on the other side for them, they get a conditional 2nd-round pick in 2023 that could become a 1st-round pick if the Rangers were to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They get a 4th-round pick in 2025 as well. Not the haul you would, as a Blackhawks fan, would hope for when you're trading away arguably one of the greatest players in franchise history. Let's talk about the Blackhawks and where they stand going forward now that they get the picks. They're maybe not in tank mode. I don't want to say anyone's in tank mode, but they're now entering that true rebuild phase of their franchise. Right, exactly. And it's very easy to do that when you did take home 3 cups in 5 years. We saw this team in their prime get the job done like no other team has. Every team goes for that, what they're doing, what they were able to accomplish, go for it all while everyone's in their prime and win. And they did that. So I think Chicago fans are happy with that, and they have to understand that no one stays at the top forever. They're going to have to rebuild now. Kane and Taves got older.
A lot of the core pieces to that lineup are gone. It's just it's the natural progression of things, and they're as a fan base they're luckier than most. We've seen a lot more one and dones between 2010 and now. Besides them in the Lightning, it's very difficult to repeat, especially in today's NHL where parity is king. The following season, the team wins the cup. You see parity from what they were doing, right? We saw it when Boston wins. You see a lot of teams being more physical the next year, parroting them, and it evens things out quick. We see it in the East this year where we had mentioned I'd say the top 6 teams in the East are arguably better than anyone in the West outside of Colorado
and Dallas. I think that Dallas is up there.
I think Dallas's goaltending is what saves them and gives them the chance that they have. I don't think that the team Dallas has is anywhere anywhere near I would say the top 5 teams in the East. But it's arguable. I'm just saying. I think especially come playoff time.
Yeah, I can see where you're standing on that.
I like to say that teams who check win, and checking teams win, especially in the playoffs. And teams in the East have that. I don't know if I would put Dallas in that category of being able to keep up with, especially these top East teams physically.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
The only team in the West I could say that could is Colorado. I would say that's worth it. I mean, you have teams like Calgary who'll run you out of the building, but they can't score or keep the puck out of their net to save their life. So they have their own problems there. But the team that could keep up with teams in the East, scoring wise, checking wise, Colorado to me is the only team in the West who could do that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of. I think Colorado this year has a good chance of. A lot of people are sleeping on them, but recently, obviously, as of late, catching a bit of a heater right now.
They're destroying everyone they come across now,
and that's without Cale Makar. And I told people all along, I was like, they're doing the Tampa Bay Lightning effect with Gabriel Landeskog, where he's going to come back in the playoffs fully healthy, ready to go, and help this team go on a long playoff run.
I just mentioned parity in the league. Teams saw what Tampa Bay was able to get away with, and I think the Rangers were looking into doing something similar.
I mean, what the Rangers did this to tie it all back to the Patrick Kane trade. What the Rangers did here set a new standard. Maybe not set a new standard, but really showed a new way of doing things when it comes to finagling and juggling the cap to make it work.
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, hockey. I mean, we've been around the game for quite some time, and just nothing like this has ever been.
I don't think I've never seen 2 players dress for a game with no intentions of taking a shift. I don't think.
Yeah, no. That just goes to show how tight the Rangers were in cap, and that's why I remember earlier on this year I was like, the Rangers are going to get Patrick Kane, and everyone laughed at me because they were like, oh, with what cap? And I'm like, they'll find it. And really, this honestly, and I'm going to say it now, I think the salary cap in just about every league is bullshit. I think it's bullshit because there's always a way around it. Teams always find a way around it, whether it's the NFL, whether it's Major League. Well, Major League Baseball doesn't have it. The NHL, like the teams, GMs make it happen. That's what these GMs have to do. That's what their job is to construct their roster in a way that they can make these types of moves. And that's what makes a good GM.
Right.
The salary cap, it's bullshit. Teams, they figure out ways. Rangers did that by acquiring Patrick Kane this year to go on, hopefully, a long run for Ranger fans. Another move that was recent today, I should say, was Gustav Nyquist being traded to the Minnesota Wild in exchange for a 5th-round pick in the 2023 draft. Anthony, the Wild here probably going to slot Gustav Nyquist probably on that 3rd line in Minnesota. Does this move really stand out to you at all? What are your thoughts on Nyquist to the Minnesota Wild? Maybe from a Predator standpoint or from a Wild standpoint?
Honestly, from the Wild standpoint, they may think that they have it. They're obviously they're second in the Central right now. They think they have a team that can make a run, but honestly, outside of Kaprizov, I don't see them getting it done in the playoffs scoring wise. I don't see them getting it done goaltending wise. we talk about our love for players like Ryan Reeves, but in the playoffs, they're just not.
Got an apple tonight.
He scored a goal tonight.
He scored. Was he the goal
batted
scorer?
The puck. He batted the puck out of midair on his way to the net and scored his first goal of the season. It was absolutely incredible. Did he also have an assist in that game?
I thought he had an apple. I was only hearing it from the NHL Network. From the room. So
yeah, he had a fun goal tonight. It was great to see. But other than that, I think that Minnesota is making moves to try and beef up their depth because that's what wins in the playoffs. But I don't see them, especially as it stands right now, and Colorado can still climb. And this is such a huge difference between what's going on in the East and what's going on in the West. In the East, things are almost like set.
Yeah,
the Devils might catch Carolina, but probably not. Yeah. We know we're going to see Tampa and Toronto in the first round. Yeah. In the Central, first and third is separated by 2 points right now.
Yeah, it's
crazy. The Pacific is the same way. I would say all the way down to Calgary, who's just on the outside of the playoffs looking in. It's the playoff picture. There's so many different scenarios that still could play out, so you don't really know who they're going to play. But as it stands right now, Minnesota would have to play Colorado, and that'd be
tough. 4
or 5 games at the most against a team like Colorado. If they played Dallas, I feel like they might be able to give them more of a run, but I don't see Minnesota beating either of those teams, especially when Jake Ottinger enters playoff. Jake Ottinger, you're scoring 1 or 2 goals a game against him, and like I said, with Minnesota's lack of depth at scoring, guys like Ryan Reeves scoring tonight. No offense to him, but with their lack of depth of scoring, it's not going to get done against Jake Ottinger. Just no way. So I don't think this is really going to do much for them. I don't think. I think their fans deserve the team to make a run and make some trades. They're in a position right now in the playoffs where they're going to be there. So you want your team, if you're going to go. So I think the fans deserve that. But otherwise, I don't see this having a huge impact on the club.
I had a 25-cent, just a throwaway bet on the Minnesota Wild to win the Stanley Cup earlier on in the season. Just took a shot. Not looking good now, but either way, they did acquire Gustav Nyquist again from the Columbus Blue Jackets in exchange for a 5th-round pick in this upcoming draft. I'm just going to run through some of these trades here, Anthony, and you just jump in when you. Obviously, we talked about the Toronto Maple Leafs acquiring Luke Schenn from the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for a 3rd-round pick heading there. We talked about that being a big deal for their.
I think that's another great trade for them. They didn't give up any actual players. They gave up their future, but from their perspective, they're in a win now situation, especially with their GM. Their GM is basically playing for his job. There's no next year if he doesn't get the job done this year. So he's going all in. I love it. I loved actually paying or trading for defensemen because that's been a glaring hole that they have not addressed. And Luke Schenn is great defenseman. Good defenseman, but he gets in the dirty areas. He checks. He'll fight. He'll do whatever he has to. In the playoffs, a guy like Luke Schenn is a hero.
Well, that's what they've gone out and done that twice. I mean, they acquired another trade that they did was with the Blackhawks, bringing in Jake McCabe. I mean, these are not like these are not the flashy defenseman names. This is not your Jacob Chikrin on the market. This isn't your big name defenseman. These are your guys that are going to be able to play your depth minutes, your grind out minutes, the guys that you're going to lean on heavily, exactly in the playoffs. And you brought up the future and what Kyle Dubas has been able to do, and it's pretty much being all or nothing for Dubas this year because he's playing like his job's on the line.
His job is on the line. He's not just playing like his job is on the line. 100%.
Let's not let this go under the radar here that the Washington Capitals got Rasmus Sandin from the Maple Leafs in exchange for a 1st-round pick. So that is not that even that 1st-round pick might not even be used. They might flip that 1st-round pick to acquire another piece to the puzzle.
I would assume that they'll be working to the deadline to do whatever they can to beef up their roster, get the depth, and give their guys the best chance to win this year. I mean, you say you don't believe in Samsonov. What's the odds that they go after another goalie?
Well, this has nothing to do with Samsonov, but more of on the goalie market. Elliot Friedman just tweeted as we're watching or as we were recording this that the Kings and the Blue Jackets are working on a Korpisalo Gavrikov deal that would obviously send those two to Los Angeles. And one of the rumored pieces to be sent back to Columbus is Jonathan Quick.
Man, that stinks for Quickie because the Kings are actually good this year. They're actually making a run. So that stinks for Quickie because he's getting older too. I'm sure he would love one more kick at the can, and he's not going to get it in Columbus.
No, not. I would maybe Columbus flip. Maybe Columbus trades him, or
now,
I don't know what his contract status is. His contract status maybe
Quick to Toronto from Columbus to Toronto for that first rounder that they acquired. I'm assuming that's what you're alluding to. That's a dynamite deal for them.
I wouldn't do that though. If I'm Toronto, I wouldn't do that.
I would.
I'd rather spend that first round pick on. I think John Gibson's better. I would trade a first rounder for John Gibson.
Fair. I'd get Gibson over Quick for sure.
I would see if I can jump in on the deal. I would take Corpi. I think I might take Korpisalo over him.
No way.
Over Quick right now.
No way. Not you're getting mixed up between Quick long term over the season and Quick on a team making a playoff run.
What about what? Okay,
we've seen Jonathan Quick firsthand against our Rangers.
Yes, but that's this isn't 2015 anymore.
But what I'm saying is that in a playoff run, it's different from the long grind of the regular season.
So okay, let's play this game.
I would rather Quick over Korpisalo any game.
So Quick over Korpisalo, Gibson over Quick, Demko over Quick.
Tim, personally, Demko would be number one over all of them.
Okay.
I love his game.
Right.
When he's healthy, I love his game.
Okay. So this deal is happening. So as we're recording this right now, the
breaking
Frank
news. Where's the breaking news drop, buddy?
I don't have a breaking. I only have what StreamYard gives me as I can do this. This doesn't do it.
That's anticlimactic. That's terrible, buddy. No. Oh, I like that.
Breaking news: Frank Saravelli comes from the top rope, says that the LA Kings have traded Jonathan Quick to the Columbus Blue Jackets. He is a part of a deal that will send back Jonas Salo. And I would assume Gavrikov is in this deal as well.
So Quickie to Columbus.
So Quickie to Columbus, Korpisalo to the Kings. And according to Friedman, Gavrikov is also in the deal. And it includes a first round pick being shipped from LA.
I just think I'd much rather Quick in the playoffs than Korpisalo, who's unproven in the playoffs.
I'm telling you,
are they trying to ride with Copley that bad?
I think that they're trying to go with Korpisalo, or maybe see that they can get him going. I mean, like I said, I don't think
Copley's been good this year, and he's been playing just as much, if not more, as Quick it seems. But I would still rather Quick in the playoffs.
Quick this season. I know the statistics here, not your biggest thing in the way you look at things, but Jonathan Quick right now, 876 save percentage and a goals against average of 3.5 goals.
Yeah, those are tough. Those are tough numbers, especially for a team trying to make the playoffs. Playoffs are a lot tighter checking. My thing is just I know the level that Quick can get to, and I think the playoffs are where you see
at 37. At 37,
I feel like you got one more kick at the can. You're giving it everything you have. You're in there. I feel like Quickie in the playoffs could have been helpful to them, especially if they started with Phoenix Copley, had a couple of rough games. You throw a veteran like Quick in there, it could change your whole team around. It could change all the momentum around. I don't know if they'll get that trying to get a 1-2 punch between Copley and Korpisalo. And that's not a slight to Korpisalo. He is a good goaltender. He's definitely a number one goaltender for a team if that plays out. Just the scenario I see with the Kings, if they were to keep Quick, I could see him boosting them in the playoffs big time.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a loss that could have been figured out over the offseason versus right before they're gearing up for a playoff run. But we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out.
I don't see it. I don't really see it. I get what you're saying about the experience and I've said it for other goalies before. So why not?
We've seen it with Brodeur when they lost to.
Fatso forgot to shake my hand.
Well, no, when they lost to who did they lose to after they beat the Rangers in 2013? Was it the Blackhawks?
In the Stanley Cup Finals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We saw with Brodeur in that year. He was playing out of his mind.
Yeah.
And he was like 40, but like it wasn't because he was good all year and had this like amazing Vezina season. No, he didn't have this amazing Vezina season. He turned it on in the playoffs because he knew that was probably one of his last kicks of the can. After that he was in St. Louis and didn't do much and retired after that. And he knew it. He knew that was his last chance. And that playoff run he was unbelievable.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking.
I'm wrong, by the way.
Who did they
the Kings? The Kings. I forgot that was the Kings.
Oh, that was the Kings. That was 2012.
First.
That was their first.
Yeah.
And that was the year the Kings ran through everybody.
Yeah. Once I said the Blackhawks, I was like, wait a second. I think because they did
2012, not just.
Yeah, because the Kings did it to us shortly after, and then I made that connection.
2014.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. We're gonna push things along though. There's one other trade I wanted to note before we get into our start sits call ups here that I want to point out and maybe get your thoughts on here. Tanner Jeannot from the Nashville Predators trades the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for quite the haul. They get Cal Foote, who has just been, his brother Nolan has been bouncing around a lot. He's on the move.
Hasn't really found a home. It hasn't found. Never really slotted in Tampa. He never fit their system, unfortunately.
Yeah, but this is where it gets big. They trade a 2025 first rounder, a second rounder in 2024, and a third, fourth, and fifth rounder in this upcoming draft. So lots of picks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 6 draft picks head Nashville's way in exchange for Tanner Jeannot, who has never been a guy who's putting up obviously that's a lot more than what the Rangers gave up for Patrick Kane. That's a lot more than what New Jersey gave up for Timo Meier. It was a lot. But we've seen it in the past. Tampa does these deals. Julian Brisebois comes in and does these deals for a Barclay Goodrow or Blake Coleman, where he's giving up multiple picks, first rounders included, Nick Paul, for grinder guys, depth guys. And the reason why I really wanted to bring this up is because, one, just stop calling Tampa out with these trades, okay? Please, everybody, because they've seemed to just proven everyone wrong when they continue to do this.
They know what they're doing.
They do.
Absolutely, they know what they're doing.
And two, when you look at their lineup, they're not like other teams. Their lineup construction is not like other teams. Their top 6 is already figured out. They have already got that taken care of. So there's no need. Obviously, you shouldn't be giving up that much for depth guys. But their top 6 is already. It's Braden Point, Kucherov, Cirelli, Killorn, Stamkos. Hey, that's their core. Right. And if they're trying to make a run, they're going to give it up. And I personally love Tanner Jeannot. I want him. I thought he was going to be a free agent. He's a restricted free agent this upcoming offseason. I really wanted him to be a guy. Obviously, the Rangers can't have everybody, but a guy that would be a great player and a fit for the Rangers because he grinds it up. No other player does what he does, where he's scoring 20-plus goals a season and also leading the league in hits. That's just not it's not common anymore in this league to have a player like Tanner Jeannot. And yes, it's a haul for Nashville. It's a ton to give up if you're Tampa Bay, but I think it's perfect for Tampa. It's perfect for Tanner Jeannot. I love it. I don't know where you stand on this deal, but I love it.
It's a very smart play by Tampa. Like you said, their top 6 settled.
Yep.
Their goaltending, best in the league.
Yep.
They want the depth because they know that they've had a tremendous amount of success in the postseason. And just like the Blackhawks, it's coming to an end. It doesn't matter if they give Nashville every pick they have or one pick. The fact of the matter is this core group is going to be done in a couple seasons. They're going to have to break it up. They're going to have to figure things out. And this team is not going to be good for a few seasons. And they know that. So they're taking the all or nothing approach. They want to get another cup, and they know what to do to get it. And they don't mind paying up for what they want.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And as you know, everyone who's listened to this podcast over the years we did it, knows that I've never been a fan of Tampa, but they know how to win.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
that's a fact. And they figured out how to win, and they never looked back is what happened, because they had many playoff failures where they couldn't figure it out, and then they figured it out and never looked back. And they're the smartest team as far as roster management in the NHL.
Yeah.
The way they manage Kucherov, the way they manage Stamkos, the way they make sure Vasilevsky's fresh for the playoffs. This team knows how to manage a roster, the trades they've made, the people they brought in, and on top of that, they have their homegrown talent like Ross Colton. This team, Anthony Cirelli, this team knows how to win. They know how to balance homegrown talent between trades. They know how to keep their superstars, and they're primed for another. This is what we're talking about. The East is so powerful.
Yeah,
they're primed for another long run if they don't lose in the first round.
Well, that's what I'm and obviously we're gonna. We're gonna get to our start sits, and I'm bringing up this playoff format in a second, but. Like, you know how there's like always like the narratives of like, if you're a President's Trophy winner, like no one expects you to win the Stanley Cup because, well, like the expectations are Stanley Cup, but like you always think, oh, President's Cup cursed, like you're not going to win the Stanley Cup.
Right, you went too hard in the regular season. You're going to fall on your face in the playoffs.
But just narratives like that, the narrative of Tampa winning back-to-back cups, there's no way they can get back. But then they change the narrative. They flip. They say "F you" narrative. We're back. Like it's just all these narratives are.
And now you can't bet against them.
But the narrative for, and I was asked this question the other day of who I think is going to win the Stanley Cup, and I was like, I just say a team. I'm not going to lock it in. It doesn't mean that much. I picked Boston. But then I'm thinking to myself, okay, but the narrative though, Boston is so good right now. They're adding so many pieces. They're getting better and better. They're so good. But then I thought to myself, that narrative is there. Same thing when I think of the Rangers. I'm like, the narrative's there. You add all these pieces. No way you're going to be able to win the Stanley Cup. It's just too much. Like it just doesn't happen. The narrative doesn't fit that. But you know who the narrative fits? The narrative fits another Tampa Bay Lightning, Colorado Avalanche Stanley Cup.
I could totally see that happening. I do have Boston as my Stanley Cup champions this year.
It's hard to go against them.
And it's not close as far as what they're capable of and what they've been doing. And just like Tampa, roster construction. They just added Hathaway, him on their fourth line, and that fourth line with him and Greer. I mean, they're going to be running people out of the building because guess what? That's the fourth line. You got Nick Foligno and Trent Frederick on the third line. You have two bottom six lines of just destroying your top skaters and creating space out there. I mean, it's not even close. That's the bottom three. That's playoff hockey. Not to mention you have as your third line center Charlie Coyle.
Oh yeah, I
don't know if there's a better group down the middle than Boston, and you're number one at preaching how important faceoffs are, buddy. There's not a better group down the middle than the Boston Bruins, and there's not better goaltending than the Boston Bruins now.
It's not even just faceoffs are a big deal, but obviously, and this is no secret to the world, the center ice position is arguably, other than goalie, the most important position on the ice because those are your guys that you have to have the responsibility of playing at both ends of the ice defensively perfect. And that is what Boston has in their lineup. They might not even be done acquiring. I love their move of acquiring Garnet Hathaway and Dmitry Orlov, who's already putting up. I believe Orlov had a goal tonight as well for Boston. So like they're already producing and looking well.
Outside of McAvoy, he's slots in as their best defenseman outside of McAvoy. Yeah.
So it's tough, but back to the Tampa, it's like the narrative. It's like, okay, like, can Boston actually do it because they're so good? They run out of gas in the end, or even, the narrative for Tampa's played almost more playoff games than teams have played in a regular season.
They've played. So they've had four. This is like their fourth short summer, fourth.
Yeah, I believe the stat the other day was they've played the numbers might be a little off here, but they've played 74 playoff games over the last 3 seasons or 4 seasons, something along those lines.
Insane amount of games.
It's nuts. It's nuts.
I think it's different with Boston though. I think that narrative of going too hard too fast is false for Boston. Having Bergeron and Marchand, guys like Pasternak, guys like that, they're not. It's the experience of Boston. It's like you'd think that Marchand and Bergeron to be slowing down by now. It's like they're strong as ever. They're going hard as ever. Marchand is, still whacking guys with his stick and getting fines. He's still getting on people's skins, and all the while, he's still one of the best players in the league. That part still hasn't changed. He's still one of the top players in the league, and they're primed for a run. I mean, they're ready. They're ready to go.
Yeah,
and Jim Montgomery's been a great coach for them.
Yeah.
He's been so good. The way he's coached this team, the way they've handled themselves, they're almost unbeatable at home this year, and they're going to most likely get home ice advantage at least in the first round. I mean, they're primed to primed to go on a run, and I can see them going all the way. I can see a Boston, Colorado finish here, and I don't think that would surprise anybody.
Yeah, no. And a player that you didn't even mention that's not in their lineup right now, who's day to day, should be back tomorrow or today as you listen to this episode, Wednesday. Taylor Hall, who's been hurt. You slot him back up in that lineup as well.
Yeah. And guess where he slots in? He slots in the third line.
He could slot in that third line. He could pop back on that second. He could be back on that second line and move Pavel Zacha down. But either way, I mean, it's a embarrassment of riches for the Boston Bruins.
It really is. They're so deep. They're so good. It's not like they're not having some miracle season. It's just not like that. The way they win, the way they play and win games, they know how to win. And you see it with Tampa where they don't have to play a great game to win, and you see that with Boston too. They can get outshot and find a way to win. They can outshoot you, find a way to win. They can be down, find a way to come back. It's like they just know how to win. And that is the big difference between a team that's good and gets ahead early and has no adversity in the regular season and then gets pumped in the playoffs. Yep. That's the difference. They know how to win. They know how to come back, and they have the experience to do it. I would say I could watch them go down 0-3 in the first series, which wouldn't happen, and still be confident that they can come back and win 4 straight. And I think that's their mentality as well, that they could come back and win 4 straight being down 0-3. And that's what makes them terrifying to play with or play against. And that's why they're my pick to go all the way this year. Easy.
Fair. It's not a bad pick.
Yeah, that's not a hot take. That's not a hot take either. Everyone thinks that is hot.
Yeah, not at all. We're gonna jump to our starts at college. But I have a tweet here that maybe I want to get your thoughts on it. I don't know where you stand on this, but Frank Saravelli has come in and said, to say Jonathan Quick is unhappy with the trade, I'm told, is an understatement.
Yeah, I don't blame him. You're on the Kings, the team you've shed blood, sweat, and tears for, won them 2 cups, almost by yourself. He may have. Did he have a Conn Smythe for 2012?
That's the. Let me take a look and see. I have it still up. Jonathan Quick. Yep,
that's what I thought. He had Conn Smythe in 2012. And your team's about to go on a run, and like I said, he's probably that's one last kick at the can for him because who knows what they're going to be next year. And then to go to Columbus, where Columbus is fun to watch. They got some players who can go, but they're not going anywhere, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. I don't know what the future holds for Columbus, but they're not like even on the bubble. I mean, there's teams that have like been on the bubble and have really made that next step this year, like the Buffalo Sabres, who are exciting to watch, might miss the playoffs, but they might squeak in, or like Florida or even Ottawa, they're probably not making the playoffs either, but they're exciting to watch right now.
Yeah.
They're below them. I think the only team that's worse than them is Montreal, or they're worse than Montreal. I don't know where they are in the standings exactly, but it's either them and Montreal or Montreal and them, but they're at the bottom with each other.
Yeah. For worst of the worst, it's Columbus is at the bottom.
Yeah, so
with 46 points, they are the worst in the NHL.
It's almost a slap in the face if you're Quick. Like, how could you send me here after all I've done?
Yeah.
I'm surprised he doesn't have some kind of no move clause in his contract that would prohibit that. No,
he doesn't, and he's a free agent at the end of the season. So he will.
Gosh, so he definitely wouldn't resign in Columbus. I'd be interested.
No, I can't imagine. He might.
I'd be interested to see where he goes.
I don't want to say he might retire, but that would be.
It would stink to get traded like that and then have to retire because you know you're going to sign a one-day contract with the Kings
With the
because
Kings
you
just
want
to
to
go
retire a
back.
King, but it
Yeah.
definitely leaves a bad taste in your mouth if they leave you, with 2 months left in the season to rot and miss the playoffs. Basically, I think that's pretty crappy of the Kings, and that makes me want to root against them. Which typically I don't. I typically will. I've always liked the Kings, and I've always loved Johnny Quick. He's one of my favorite goalies to watch because he's so quick, and he has his own, no pun intended, but he has his own style that's not like anyone else. He doesn't look like any other goalie, and he still has that. I think he has some. I think he still has some juice. I think he feels like he still has some juice to go. So that's very surprising that they would do that to him, and I hope he continues to play and finds a landing spot for next year.
Yeah, and hey, the Kings still have Florida boy Arthur Kaliev on there, so it still gives you some reason to root for him. But all right, let's get into our starts, our sits. Let's get to our starts, our sits, and our call-ups here. I'm going to kick things off, Anthony. I am okay. So wait, we have to do this. We can't just jump into starts, sits, call-ups. We might have new viewers, we might have new listeners, we might have new people joining the show. We've been gone for what, 3 years now. We've been gone,
on ice, buddy.
We've
been on ice for 3 years.
Really trying to push that one through, huh? You're really trying to just jab that on ice joke through, huh?
I'm gonna say it a few more times so you get used to it, bud.
Yeah, on ice. There you go. We've had the skates hung up for a little bit now, but we're back. We're back on the pond, riding it out. This is one of our world famous segments here on the show, on the Power Play podcast. Our starts, our sits, our call ups. This is a segment that really debuted with really the OGs of the show. And this is where we start something that we like, we sit something that we don't like, and we call up something that might be flying under the radar that deserves a little bit more attention. I will start things off, no pun intended. We're going to continue doing that all show as well. I'm starting this week the Buffalo Sabres. I know they just lost tonight, 5-3 to the Columbus Blue Jackets, but they're still right there in the playoff race in the Eastern Conference for a wild card spot, just 3 points behind the Pittsburgh Penguins for that last final wild card spot. But they're right there. They're right there, and they're already one win away from surpassing their win total of last year. To say the Buffalo Sabres have bounced back and it might be back, it might be true. It might be true. I think the Buffalo Sabres, with what they have on their team, has been incredible to watch. One of the most fun teams I've been able to watch this season. I watch a lot of hockey nowadays. I'm watching a lot. I'm dialed in. I'm zoned in. And really, when I look at the game log and which game I really want to watch and pay attention to, a lot of the time it's the Buffalo Sabres, and it's because of guys like Tage Thompson. It's guys like Dylan Cousins. They've been phenomenal this year. What can you say about Tage Thompson? 41 goals on the year, career year for him. He's been really the leader of that charge in Buffalo. But then you sprinkle in a little Dylan Cousins. And Anthony, I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if you remember.
I remember. You bring it up every 2 seconds, bud.
I do bring it up every 2 seconds because it deserves to be brought up every 2 seconds because I am right. I told you guys long ago in the draft, in the year that he got drafted, what was it, the 2019 draft? He was there. I told you, Dylan Cousins is going to be that dude. And I wanted him over one Capo Caco, who the Rangers selected second overall. I wanted Dylan Cousins instead, who ended up going 7th. I wanted him to be a Ranger. Instead, didn't happen. And now we're seeing Dylan Cousins be better than Capo Caco. Got his first career hat trick the other night. He is going by career end. Dylan Cousins will be better than Capo Caco. Book it right here. You heard it here first.
That's just absurd. The Rangers took the right guy in Capo. I still believe that he is a better player, and I like Dylan Cousins. I mean, it's not like some hot take. He's 7th overall pick, buddy. So settle down.
He's better than Capo, and he's a big part of why they're my start of the week.
Yeah, no, Sabres are fun to watch. Absolutely fun to watch. Tage Thompson, every time you turn around, he's scoring a hat trick or 4-goal game. Yeah. He's been unbelievable.
That's
Anderson had like a 53 save shutout for them.
It was a 50 save. I believe it was a shutout. It was a 50 save shutout, which got stat corrected to 49.
That's just silly. Come on, man.
It's very unfortunate because it was like he was the oldest player to reach said milestone. The oldest player to have
They took it away. He had 49 saves. He did let in a goal.
So oldest player to record. So I think that was the stat. It was the oldest player to record 50 or more saves in a game. Now docked down to 49 saves, which loses the. But
now a problem with the Sabres is Alex Tuch. He's been fantastic for them. He's been the leader, Mr. Buffalo himself, driving himself through tables with Bills Mafia. He's on IR. So that's a tough blow for a team that is trying to make the playoffs and make their fans happy for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, I do think with Tuch being out week to week with that lower body injury, it's now giving time for other guys to step up, like a Dylan Cousins, but also Jack Quinn had a goal tonight. Casey Middlestat's been stepping up. He had a big goal. Jeff Skinner had 2 tucks the other day. I mean, this is it does suck for Alex Tuch not to be in the lineup, but it now allows others to step up, and that's what's been happening. And they're right there in the thick of it in the wild card race. Anthony, if I were to ask you, where do you think the Buffalo Sabres rank in most goals this season in terms of most goals per team by a team this season? Where do you think the Buffalo Sabres rank?
They're probably somewhere closer to the middle, but on the other side, towards the top. So I would say like 12.
Bump that up 10 spots. They're the second in the league for goals scored in the NHL. Like that's what's happening.
Tage Thompson's a huge part of that. He's scoring 4 goals a night, so it's
exactly. But they are all scoring goals, and it's been so much fun to watch. That's one of the reasons why they've been fun to watch this year, because they're just scoring goal after goal after goal, second in the leagues in goals for. And you and I, for those who have been with us and stuck with us from the beginning, you know that Anthony and I, we like to watch the lesser teams, the younger teams, the more like these types of teams like Buffalo or Ottawa or Montreal.
Love the excitement.
Cole Caulfield was in that lineup. I was watching Montreal every single day, but that's neither here nor there. These young teams, Buffalo fits that. Buffalo fits that example of watching Buffalo games.
Oh, they're so fun to watch
because of where they're at, not only in the standings, but what they're doing. They're scoring all these goals. Tage Thompson, Dylan Cousins, start of the week, Buffalo Sabres.
It was a long start of the week, buddy.
It deserved it.
So am I going to
You're going to go next.
I don't get to wild card today. I just have to follow that with my start.
I mean, you could. Oh, I did forget that we had a wild card drop.
I used to surprise everyone every week. Now I don't get to. You kind of stole my thunder there, buddy.
I didn't think about that. I didn't. And I'll let you go for the next. I'll let you go for the next one.
You need to figure it out, buddy. You need to figure it out. I'm going to go ahead and start with my start here. Yeah. My start is a guy we mentioned earlier, the GM for the Toronto Maple Leafs, one Kyle Dubas. He is making moves for this team. He's in win now mode. He wants to win more than anyone, and he's showing it, bringing in guys like Luke Shen, Ryan O'Reilly. And in the midst of this, they haven't given up any of their core pieces. They've kind of mortgaged the future a little bit, but even that hasn't been too bad. I love what he's doing in Toronto, and for all the playoff failures they've had in recent years, I hope this is the year that they can make it out, because he's doing everything he can. He's brought in everyone he can. He's surrounded Matthews with talent. There's no reason that they should be bounced in the first round. It's unfortunate, the playoff scenarios that are playing out right now with them having to play Tampa. But he is my clear start of the week. Kyle Dubas is great GM, and if they do happen to get stopped by the Lightning in the first round and he gets let go, the team that grabs him will be very lucky. Yeah,
I think that they've done a great job in addressing their needs, and that's one of the biggest stories we talk about all the time. Is just GMs kind of just not being as aggressive or as active as possible to address what actually is the problem with teams. Like we talk about the Rangers all the time, with they added Patrick Kane. They didn't really need Patrick Kane. It's just obviously a benefit when he wants to come to New York, but they really didn't need Patrick Kane. Every move that Toronto has made has been a need and can help them get ahead of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And it's really unfortunate that we're going to see that in just the first round, which leads me to my sit of the week, and it's the NHL playoff format, which is just, I feel like people have been talking about it a lot as of late, and I'm going to hammer it home right here. NHL, Gary Bettman, figure your shit out. The playoff format that the NHL has is easily one of the worst in all the professional sports. The fact that we have to see teams like Tampa and Toronto go at it every year in the first round, only to see one team lose who could easily be a Stanley Cup champion. Like, if you were to tell me that you see Tampa, Toronto, the Rangers and the Devils, one of those teams gets knocked out, that team could easily be a Stanley Cup champion. And you're not even letting them get past round one. You're not only doing a disservice to the game, you're doing a disservice to the fans watching the game. You're not putting out the best product round after round after round. You don't want people to say, oh man, you're in your Eastern Conference Finals and it's between Ottawa and Pittsburgh. Let's throw it back to those days. And you're like, oh man, your Eastern Conference Finals, Ottawa and Pittsburgh, that's not really it. Although it's not really it. Your Eastern Conference Finals was Pittsburgh, Washington in a round or two before. Like, that's a problem. You don't want your fans to say that, but you do. You have them saying that, like us saying it right now. Fix your playoff system. Fix your playoff format, Gary Bettman. My sit of the week.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said there. I do believe that it's fair to say that these teams would eventually play each other. So like whoever's going to win the cup is obviously that team, but it's way more exciting down the road if we can make it so one's playing 8, so on and so forth. You're going to get the better teams playing each other in more meaningful games. You're going to get that Eastern Conference final between Tampa and Toronto. Instead, you're not getting them in the first round. So I think we'd all agree that we'd much rather see it when the stakes are the highest with the top teams. So I think that's a huge miss by the NHL and Gary Bettman. I think that's a pretty common opinion by most hockey fans out there.
Yeah, no hot takes here, just facts are facts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your sit of the week, sir.
So my sit of the week is again more of an obvious one: the Edmonton blue line. Amidst all these trades that are happening with other teams, Edmonton finally acquired Mattias Ekholm, stay-at-home defenseman with a decent shot, but overall their blue line is so bad, and they don't really get the good goal. They're not really getting consistent goaltending either. So McDavid can score 2 goals a night, and they can score 5 as a team, and then lose 6-5 in overtime. We've seen it. I don't know if they must be in the lead for blown leads this year. I can't imagine anyone being ahead of them.
No, they are. They are.
I was gonna say I can't imagine anyone being ahead of them because every time I'm watching the Edmonton, they have the lead or they're down and come back. Like they've always, it's like a tradition in Edmonton now where they'll either go down 0-4 and then come back and win 5-4, or they go up 4-0 and lose 5-4. It's like they can't figure it out. They can't balance their team, and they have not surrounded McDavid with anyone worthwhile that can help him. That can help create space for him. Darnell Nurse is not getting the job done. He's not been worth the money. And the list goes on from there of guys who are not reliable on the back end. Ekholm is going to help that a little bit. He is a good defender. I'm sure he's happy to be joining Edmonton and Connor McDavid and a chance in the playoffs here. But overall, the Edmonton Blue Line is what will hold them back in the playoffs, and them not doing much to address that is a huge problem. But I think we'll see if Ekholm makes a difference, but I don't think he's going to be that difference maker that they need.
Yeah, I didn't really like the Tyson Barrie being moved in that deal either.
Yep, Tyson Barrie, huge missing piece on the power play now. With Tyson Barrie gone, so that's a huge problem too.
I think they spited themselves just to add Ekholm, which I don't think is going to be that big player. I mean, now you're going to have to see Evan Bouchard come in on that power play, that top power play unit, and Mattias Ekholm be on there as well. I think we'll see. That's where Edmonton's at. I don't think that really helped as much as they'd hope.
Right. And not to mention Ekholm is used to playing with Roman Josi, no?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's pretty nice to have a guy like Josi on the other end of the ice that you can throw a pass to when you're in trouble. So
yeah,
we'll see how he does in Edmonton. We'll see how Edmonton handles him, and we know Edmonton can be harsh on guys coming in not performing. So the pressure is definitely going to be on, especially this year, because again, like we've talked about, McDavid's not getting any younger. He's still probably not even in his prime, but at the same time, he's getting there. And if this team doesn't do anything to change that, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter what he does or how well he plays. They're not going to be able to get it done when it matters in the playoffs because, again, not to beat a dead horse, but checking teams win in the playoffs. Edmonton's not a good checking team. They don't defend well, and they don't have good goaltending. Those are three things that you need in the playoffs, and they don't have any of that. They're not going to win 7 to 6 games in the playoffs. They're going to lose. Yeah. They're going to lose 2-1 games because they can't score. And we've seen even McDavid struggle in the playoffs with scoring and not being able to break through because his game isn't built for the playoffs, and he has no one around him to create space.
That's why some people say Nathan McKinnon might be better than Connor McDavid.
The argument is valid there, especially with them winning the cup the past year. I do think that if you were to watch McDavid,
he's just special.
There's things that he can do that no one else can do.
But then you saw it in the playoffs last year. He was like he was carrying, like you saw him throwing the body, you saw him scoring goals, you saw him getting a sit, like.
Right. No one can do what McDavid does. And I do think that McKinnon does benefit a little bit more from his teammates than McDavid does. I would love to see McDavid on a team that supports him a little bit better. You might see him breaking some single season records if that were the case. I mean, this year he's on his way to a career year. His first 50-goal season. He's been unbelievable. And the problem is being able to continue it through the playoffs with the lack of depth that they have.
Obviously, Leon Draisaitl is a superstar and the player
he got hurt today in practice.
Yeah, it sucks.
Took a shot in practice. I don't know if it was lower body or not, but he took a shot off something and left practice early. So hopefully he's all right. Because besides him, Leon's the guy there, and outside of them, it doesn't get better. I'll tell you that right now.
It was an undisclosed injury. They have not.
Hopefully,
he played Tuesday though. He played today.
He played tonight. All right, so there you go. He's fine. I wasn't sure.
That's what I'm reading. Oh wait, no, I'm lying. I'm a lying sack of shit. I don't know if he played today or not.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
I'm words hard, not reading completely.
My
comparison though with Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid here, I was going to bring up maybe like traveling down like a Washington Capitals-esque path with Alexander Ovechkin and your Nicholas Backstrom, who at one point was a great player in this league, where it's two top guys and then you just can't find out what works to get them over the hump, and they go so many years without winning a Stanley Cup. Obviously for the Caps it worked out eventually when Barry Trotz rolled into town, but for Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, not been so fortunate, and might not be there again this coming playoff.
A couple days ago they lost to the Blue Jackets. Connor McDavid scored 4 points and they lost still.
Yeah.
I
remember. That game was wild. Did you watch that? That game was bananas. Like it was unreal.
Yeah, no, so that's what I'm talking about, where they can't rally like
that game
and expect to win. They got a taste of that against Columbus, who really they shouldn't. If they're as legit as they want to be, a team like Columbus should be a night where they go in, impose their will, play their game, and win. Yeah, there's no excuses for that.
They went down 4-0 in that game. They were down 4-0 in that game, and then Edmonton had to come back. They had to come back in that game and still lost after Connor McDavid did what he did. But I'm gonna stay in Canada, Anthony, for my call up of the week.
Go on ahead, sir.
As we wrap this segment up, I'm calling up Quinn Hughes, defenseman for the Vancouver Canucks. Maybe that's new to some people. I mean, we don't talk about Quinn Hughes enough. Okay,
It seems
Anthony,
it seems irrelevant being how irrelevant the Vancouver Canucks are.
it does. It does. But that's why it's right here, and it fits perfectly in my call up section, because what he's doing in Vancouver, if he was on any other team, we'd be talking about Quinn Hughes as a Norris Trophy candidate. Like I guarantee you, if Quinn Hughes had the stats and was performing the way he has been performing this year, we'd be talking about Quinn Hughes up there with Josh Morris. We'll be talking about him with the Adam Fox, the Cale Makars this year. Like that's where he would be this year if Quinn Hughes was on any other team but Vancouver. They've been phenomenal. They've been good, really good when Quinn Hughes is on the ice. They're plus 34 in goal differential when he's on the ice. That's including power plays. When you're looking at just 5-on-5, plus 19 in goal differential. They are incredible when he's on the ice and miserable when he's off the ice. Negative 71, minus 71, however you want to put it, in goal differential when he's not on the ice this season. Quinn Hughes is a difference maker in Vancouver. Unfortunately, not a big enough difference maker to get the wins, but he deserves the credit for doing what he's doing, averaging a point per game this season. Closing in on most points for Vancouver in a single season, which is his own record. He's closing in on breaking his own record in Vancouver. And
most points as a defenseman.
Most points as a defenseman. Yes, sorry. Most points as a defenseman. Wait, isn't most points as a defenseman? Yes, most points as a defenseman.
I was gonna say there's no way it's most. There's no way he's.
Yeah.
I'm sure Marcus Nash
most
has
points.
those records.
Most points as a defenseman, and then also this past week. Or earlier this week, I should say, he's the first defenseman in Canucks history with consecutive 50 assist seasons.
Yeah, what's going on in Vancouver is weird because they do have a lot of talent on their roster,
which we might see moved by Friday.
They have a lot of guys who you'd think would be contributing to, making the playoffs this year, but they're not even close. And we're going to see the team, we're going to see a different team next year. And I don't know if the hiring of Tocchet has helped any. It doesn't seem like it has. Not Tocchet's fault, but the team just isn't where they want to be. And it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the players because they have, unlike some of the other teams that are struggling for talent, like Columbus, they don't seem to have that talent problem. They just seem to have a dysfunction problem where they can't figure out how to get it done on the ice.
Yeah. I mean, the talent is there, like you said. We could end up seeing Brock Besser, name to watch for this deadline. I know Pittsburgh and the Canucks have been talking a lot about Brock Besser going to play for the Penguins. So keep an eye on that. Anthony, your call-up of the week.
My call-up of the week is goalie goals. I'm calling up goalie goals in light of Linus Ullmark scoring one of the prettiest goalie goals I think I've ever seen. He flips it up and over everyone from his own end, and the puck lands dead center in the middle of the net. I mean, that's like real accuracy challenge right there. It was a thing of beauty. And on top of that, he and Swayman have maybe one of the most passionate goalie hug. They always do the goalie hug at the end of the game, but they put a little dash of something else on it, jumping into each other's arms at the end of this one. Yeah. Well deserved. It was fun to watch, and I don't remember the last time the NHL had a goalie goal. It may have been Mike Smith a few years ago. I don't know if he got. Did he get one, or was he really close? I don't remember.
I'll have to look that up.
I know Shesty's been close a couple times, missed, but Linus Ullmark right on the mark there. No pun intended. Nails it. It just adds to the amazing season the Bruins are having and the amazing Vezina-worthy season he's having as well. Absolutely awesome. Love to see it.
Yeah. And also
I'm calling up for more goalie goals and more shot attempts from goalies when the other end is empty. I'd love to see it, even if it puts your team in a bad spot with an icing. I don't care.
The last goalie to score a regular season goal was Pekka Rinne in 2020.
Oh, Pekka. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
Pekka,
I remember that. Okay.
So it was Pekka, Mike Smith in 2013.
Gotcha.
Marty
I remember
Brodeur
Smitty getting one.
Marty Brodeur that same year. Different season, same year.
Right.
Cam Ward, Chris Mason.
I don't remember Chris Mason getting one.
Yeah, no. Mika Norinen. Never heard of him before.
Don't know who Mika Norinen is.
played for Buffalo, did it on Valentine's Day in 2004. Evgeny Nabokov did it for San Jose in 2002.
Okay.
Jose Theodore did it in 2001. And Marty Brodeur did it again or for the first time in 2000. Oh, well, that's, in 2000.
I feel like Theodore's goal may have been something weird, like he didn't shoot the puck. I just have a weird memory of that, but I could be wrong there.
Yeah, I can't answer. I can't Google. Oh, I can't.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that off. We'll get into that off air.
But one little capper for your Linus Ullmark, your Linus Ullmark take, and really goalie goals. A mention from tonight. He broke the record for most saves in a regular season game in Boston Bruins franchise history tonight with 54 saves.
I saw they were getting outshot by the Flames. Did they end up winning that game?
They did.
You got to be kidding me.
And they ended up winning, and he had 54 saves. Wow. Broke a record for saves in Boston Bruins regular season franchise history, passing Tim Thomas. They won 4-3 in overtime. Boston did.
Oh my! I can't
after being outshot 57-20.
I absolutely cannot believe that.
Calgary not good at hockey.
They can't get goaltending. I'm trying to look to see if Markstrom was in the net tonight. I did not watch this goal, but Markstrom has been so bad for them, and it stinks because he was so good last year. He was almost unstoppable last year, and it seems like he just kind of ran out of steam in the playoffs, and he was really bad against.
I think Vladar started the game.
Okay. Well, then never mind. It's not his fault then. But he has been so bad this season, and they have not been able to keep the puck out of their own net. I'm sure that's extremely frustrating for the players to throw 50 shots on goal, almost 60 shots on goal in a losing effort. You only give up 20 shots and you give up 4 goals. That's, I'm a goalie and I don't like to blame goaltending for anything. But if you're giving up 4 goals on 20 shots, as they say, you got to mix in a save.
Yeah, Vladar allowed 2 goals on 5 shots, replaced by Markstrom, who made 13 saves. But hey, we saw Vladar in the cheese toast, so it might be time to send him back to Atlanta.
Yeah, well, he's actually been better than Markstrom this year. Like when he's had the opportunity, he's actually played really well. But he just hasn't been able to. Markstrom hasn't been able to find his rhythm, and I don't know if they're ready to give up on Markstrom for Vladar, but that's been a huge Achilles heel for them this year. Is that they can't get goaltending, and if you can't get goaltending to the extent they're getting it, they can't get anything going offensively because the puck's always behind him. That's it, plain and simple. And not to mention, and not to get too down that rabbit hole, but guys like Sutter, who are, more hard-nosed coaches, tell it like it is, don't show that respect for the players that some other newer, younger coaches are. Those guys have shorter shelf life. So after a tough season like this, you can see maybe the room getting away from Sutter, and, the goaltending suffers as a result. The team suffers as a result. So be interested to see what they do in the offseason regarding coaching and goaltending, because it looks like they're going to fall short of it unless they go on a run, unless Markstrom finds his game and they go on a run, which could happen. If you put 60 shots up on the Bruins, who are, we just talk about how good they are, you're doing something right. But not being able to win games, and like I mentioned to you earlier, the Bruins finding ways to win games, that's the difference.
This was on the back-to-back for the Bruins on their Canadian trip. So, but all right, that's our starts.
Fair enough.
So sits. That's our call-ups. We got 2 more things to get into before we wrap things up. One of them is it's your special time, Anthony. We decided this was in our earlier shows and all of our shows before special goalie segment.
We've had a setup of the week even since like episode 1, I believe. I believe we've always had a setup of the week. That was like one of our initial ideas. And
I've got to be honest, Anthony, and I don't mean to spoil anything, but I'm really interested to see your explanation on why this was
an easy one for me. I've been thinking about this like before we decided to start the show again. I am a sucker for full color pads. I'll get into it a little more, but like I used to love Marty Turco and his setups because he had the full color on all of his setups. So as soon as Malcolm Subban unleashed these pads earlier this month into the AHL, I was like, man, these are so sick. They look great with the American jerseys, and he's got the all blue true stick to go with him. It's to me, I love full color pads like this. They look great, and he's got like the sparkly mask and the blue cage to go with it. It's great style all around.
Wow. Okay.
What is your critique of this one? What do you like about the full color?
Critique. It's a great setup. Don't get me wrong.
It's beautiful.
I'm just thinking of all the setups we have in the NHL right now, or setups going around town.
I wanted to stay away from a layup NHL a layup NHL setup in the first segment. I thought I could dig a little deeper. I was thinking somewhere in the minors, maybe juniors, and I came across Malcolm Subban while I was looking. I was like, oh man, this set is sick because again, I love the full colors. I feel like any full color setup is like almost a tribute to Marty Turco, who had the best full color setups when he played. So they're just great. Love the setup. It looks great with it looks great with the uniforms too. It's not just the setup by itself. It's how it goes with the sweaters and how it goes with the stick and the mask combo. Just beautiful.
That's fair. All right.
Absolutely beautiful.
That's fair. All right. Let's start winding things down here. I know we talked a lot about the trade deadline coming up on Friday. We talked a lot about it to kick off the show. We're gonna kind of sandwich this in here. We're gonna cap on a little bit more trade deadline talk here in our main event, in our quick main event here. I'm going to kind of give you these questions rapid fire, Anthony. I want to hear what your thoughts are on some of these deals and that we could see, that we should see, that we maybe shouldn't see for the deadline coming Friday. Again, we might see these deals come well before Friday and have nothing to talk about when it comes to Sportsnet and what have you. But let's dive into it, Anthony. Who needs to make a move the most in the NHL? Other than the ones that have already made the moves these past few days?
It seems right now that Carolina needs to do a little something more. I know that they've had a great season, taking nothing away from them. It just seems like they can't get it done in the playoffs. So I feel like they need that star power that the Rangers were able to get with Tarasenko and Kane, or like Boston was able to do with Orlov and Hathaway in their depth. I feel like they got to get some extra juice. They added Jesse Puljujarvi today, and I don't think that's. I mean, I'm not excited if I'm a Hurricanes fan. I love Jesse Puljujarvi. I think he's a great character guy. He's fun. He's cool to watch. He is highly skilled. He's a highly skilled player, but he's never been able to really make that impact. And I mean, we talked about how it's the McDavid show in Edmonton, and I think he was part of the problem at Edmonton where he wasn't doing his job contributing consistently. Very streaky player. I think he's going to continue that in Carolina. I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to be a huge difference maker there. They definitely lack the depth to go on a full playoff run. They lack the experience in the net. I feel like Freddie Anderson is one missed stride away from getting hurt again, like he was all last playoffs. Didn't play at all. Antti Ranta in the playoffs last year again got hurt towards the end, but he was decent enough to be serviceable. But he's not. I don't think he's saving them. I think that was the difference when they played the Rangers was Shesterkin making plays when the Rangers had no business winning a couple of those games. He stole them for him. Whereas Antti Ranta was serviceable, but definitely not stealing games. They have Jacob Slavin and Brent Burns, at the top of their blue line. After that, it's Brady Shea, who's maybe one of the softest defensemen in the last 20 years. I mean, the other day I came across when Cody Eakin just runs over Hank behind the net, and guess who's right there?
Yeah,
Brady Shea just skating away, doing nothing.
Come on, let's move past this.
He's soft. He's very soft. I wouldn't want him on my team. I'm glad he's not a Ranger. He's a skilled defenseman, but he's not the kind of guy who's going to help you out in the playoffs. He's not going in the dirty areas. He's not sticking up for his teammates. You don't necessarily want a guy like that in your team come playoff time. And I don't think that their top six is anything to be scared of in the playoffs. Kotkaniemi centering their second line right now. with Megis and Teravainen. It's fine. I don't think it's not scaring anyone, especially it's like if they do make it out of the first round, they're going to be playing either the Rangers or the Devils. I'm sure. I'm not sure how all that shakes out after the first round, but I'd say both the Rangers and Devils defenses are capable of handling their second, third, and fourth line. Their first line with Aho and Svechnikov is awesome. That's an awesome line. But without the depth in the playoffs, it's like they need to make a move. They need to figure something out to give them that extra jump. And with a lot of these players coming off the board, it's like, who are they going to get at this point?
Yeah, that's the thing. They were in on Timo Meier. They were in on they were. I mean, now we know no one was in on on Patrick Kane other than the Rangers.
Well, yeah, he made that decision himself, which I'm very thankful for.
Yeah, so yeah, it's great
because the Rangers were out on him because they didn't have the cap space after after trading for Tarasenko. So the Rangers were out. And until he said, I'm either staying here or going to New York. But I mean, even the Islanders, who I think could make a move, I don't think they're in as bad of shape as Carolina because of their depth and the fact that they have arguably the best goalie in the league right now, Ilya Sorokin. He's having his own Vezina year, and he's going to have many more to come. Not to get too off the path, but their goaltending is set for the next 10, 15 years. Sorokin's the man over there, and Carolina doesn't have that, so they need to make a move.
It comes down to the arms race that's happening in the Eastern Conference right now, and you look at you look at Pittsburgh, they're linked to Brock Besser, and you look at the Rangers, what they've done, and the Islanders getting Bo Horvat, and New Jersey getting Timo Meier, Boston making their moves, Washington making their moves. Everyone is making their moves. Then you're
by the way, Bo Horvat has been unbelievable.
He has been great
on the island.
Yeah, he's been great. I mean,
he has been rejuvenated, scoring goals at will on the island. He's been great for them.
All these
for a team that struggles offensively too.
All these names getting scooped up, and it really is just leaving like a who's who left for Carolina. I mean, there's not. I mean, you look at the top. We'll jump into this now of who's available right now. You look at Jacob Chikrin still out there. Gavrikov maybe being dealt as we speak right now to the Los Angeles Kings, so you can wipe his name off the board. We don't know where the Detroit Red Wings are with Tyler Bertuzzi. His name has been floating around out there. The names that are available
that'd be a good grab for them. Tyler Bertuzzi would be. If they got Bertuzzi, I think that's a playoff difference maker. That guy is a piece of crap to play against. No one wants. I mean, he goes at everyone. He's like
it may bring something that's not there
in a way.
That might not be there for Carolina too. So maybe you really look at Tyler Bertuzzi giving up a first round pick for Tyler Bertuzzi.
Right. It's really not. Right. It's really not there for them. That spark like Tyler Bertuzzi can provide, mixing it up, getting in the dirty areas. He goes hard to the net every play. He's in the goalie's face. He'll fight whoever. He doesn't care. He mixes it up. And I'm looking at the Hurricanes lineup right now. I don't see anyone on their lineup that's really going to get in your face like that.
No. They had Max Domi last year.
Max Domi.
That was who like him and Tony DeAngelo.
Yeah, Tony D was an absolute shithead out there. I don't personally like him, but he's that guy that, he'll get under people's skin. He'll mix it up, but then he'll also commit stupid penalties. But I digress. They don't really have anyone in their lineup right now that's gonna do that for them. So Tyler Bertuzzi would be a great person to target for them.
Yeah, but
I would love to see Bertuzzi stay in Detroit, honestly, because I'm excited about Detroit's future. They have Mo Seider, they have Bertuzzi, they have some guys who can help them get back to their former playoff glory, and I think that they're just a couple seasons away from doing that, honestly.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing we talk about where Detroit is right now in terms of the arms race in the Eastern Conference. They're only 5 points out of that last wild card spot, so it's like, are they trying to consider at least trying to finish out?
They got a solid team. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Dylan Larkin. No one does. It's I've heard most people say they think he'll stay, but he could be gone. But outside of that, I mean, adding David Perron to their team, he's been such a great veteran presence, great leader. I mean, Tyler Bertuzzi's been awesome. They have guys who are young, and Oscar Sundqvist, who are young enough, that Zadina kid. They have guys who are in their lineup who can make a difference for years to come, not just this year. And go figure who's at the helm. Stevie Y building this team just like he built Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
A team that's built to last. May not win the cup this year, next year, or the year after, but I would say in about 2 or 3 years, we're going to be saying, "Oh man, Detroit's definitely making the playoffs this year. They can make a run."
Yeah, and Tyler Bertuzzi, a free agent though this summer, so it's like
I would love for him to stay in Detroit and keep going the momentum they have there. They're full of young studs, and he's one of them. I think that they could, if they can keep that group together, they can do some damage in this league, especially with Stevie Y making the decisions. He's going to keep bringing in guys. They're going to keep growing talent, and when they get there, that's when they can make the trades themselves for those playoff pieces. But that's all to be.
That could be the diamond in the rough then of this free agent class. But now I'm going to rapid fire this to you, Anthony.
Right.
With going off of TSN's top trade candidates. I'm going to give you names. Tell me where they go. If they move at all, you can say they stay put. And let's talk with a guy who hasn't played in a while, whose name has been in confirmed trades, not confirmed trades, and everything in between. Jacob Chikrin of the Arizona Coyotes. Where does he go?
It seems like the teams that I thought would be in on him, like Toronto or even New York, have settled. The only place I could think of him going is possibly Edmonton, but I don't think they're looking to add. It doesn't seem like there's much interest there. So I would say he stays put, especially with his non-ability to stay healthy. I don't know anyone who's going to want to give up anything for a talented defenseman. Don't get me wrong, but a guy who, again, like I mentioned earlier, one stride away from going on IR every time he hits the ice. So.
Yeah. I think I there's obviously been a lot of conversation linking him up with the Los Angeles Kings. There was a trade that everyone thought went through, didn't go through.
Right.
There. If I had to guess a team that he moves to, it is the Los Angeles Kings, and that may be your deadline deal on Friday that TSN's able to break, because they're not going to be able to break a whole lot else. Gavrikov already reported and rumored to be going to the team we were just talking about in the Los Angeles Kings, so I'll skip over his name. We just talked about Tyler Bertuzzi. I'm going to throw out James Van Riemsdyk's name, pending UFA at the end of the season. He's got 9 goals, 23 points in 40 games for the Philadelphia Flyers, who are not battling for a playoff spot. Where does James Van Riemsdyk go?
He'd be a great candidate for who we talked about with Carolina. I don't know if that's. I'm not saying. I guess I'm not saying that's where he would go or who's interested in it. I'm saying if they're looking to make a move based on what's available, great veteran presence, could provide your team with some depth. He also is a guy who gets in the dirty areas, doesn't shy away from it, from the physicality. A guy that they could use in the playoffs, a guy with experience that they could use in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, I think that would be a good fit. I think Philadelphia just needs to start just.
Yeah, they need to. Unfortunately, as much as I love Torch, I feel like 1 year of him has shown that they're not going to win under him, and he might want to consider going back to NHL Network or wherever he was, ESPN, doing broadcast, because he's not the right guy for a coaching position anymore in today's NHL, I don't think. And that's from a guy who loves Torts. I love
Oh,
Torts.
yeah. It's
we've just seen he's adjusted his game well to be able to coach in the NHL, but overall he's not the guy, especially in Philadelphia. So I think that they're gonna be, I don't know, at the bottom for a long time. With how the problem is, you can't even get good in the East anymore without having to go through these top 6 teams who are unbelievable right now. So it's like Philadelphia has such a a mountain to climb because the Rangers are young, the Devils are young. Boston's veteran, but they're still there.
I've been predicting every year at the beginning of the season that Boston falls off, and I look like a fool at the end of everything.
The problem is Bergeron and Marchand, Pastrnak. These guys they're not aging like they're supposed to. They're not getting.
It's crazy.
They're especially like Marchand and Bergeron. Their games aren't going down at all. They're just getting better and better every year.
Yeah, they won't let their team die.
It doesn't make sense logically that they'd still be as good as they are. It really doesn't. But they've found ways to stay relevant, get younger talent in. Pashnak's not that old, I guess, but
no,
I think he's only like 26, 27. So he's just now probably hitting his prime, and he's so good. So it's like when we think about it like that, it's like, man, they have another 3 or 4 years with that core group to be super competitive. And if you're a team like Philly who's just trying to break out of the slump here, and it's like you're never gonna break out of it.
Yeah, no. Nope. No. All right, Anthony. One last thing. All the layup predictions for the trade deadline are probably out the window. Yeah, Kane already to the Rangers. That one was the layup. What is
Tarasenko's gone? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Also a Ranger.
Yeah.
Where is your one? What's your one prediction that you see happening before the deadline from now until then? What do you see? One trade you think? One move? One deal you think is done?
Based on everything that's happened so far, I think you mentioned like all the layups are kind of gone. There's nothing to me that sticks out like, oh man, this is gonna happen. This is gonna be done. I would say the only thing that I would predict is that Edmonton makes some kind of move going forward, whether it's for Chychrun, maybe they try to bid for Chychrun over LA, but they try to do something at the deadline to make their team more competitive, especially seeing what it's going to take to get past a juggernaut like Colorado.
Yeah,
you have to be if you're in the front office of Edmonton, you have to be thinking we've got to get that missing piece in here. We got to figure it out. Maybe they target Bertuzzi. If that's something that they can handle and can come to terms with Stevie Y. I'm sure Stevie Y will get a unbelievable return in because that's the way he does anything. But they're going to be the ones who have to make a big deal here to keep up with teams like Colorado, because I feel like especially in the West right now, a lot of those teams do have pieces that they're like, okay, well we can make this run here, or they're playing with house money. Like I feel like LA is having such a good season this year that maybe they weren't expecting. So they're just like, all right, we're just going to roll. We're not going to. I don't think they were looking to make any moves outside of maybe the chicken one that's going to put their future in jeopardy, because they're already pretty young, and I think that they're geared up to maybe do like a on the fly rebuild with young talent. So I don't know if there's like just to answer your question, I don't know if there's any like true layups right now that are in my head, but one team that I know that needs to make a big move in the West for one of those guys would be Edmonton.
Yeah, I think Chychrun's name obviously is the easy one to float out there as a team that needs defense. Don't rule out. I'm not going to rule out Jacob Chychrun to Toronto. I know Toronto added Shen and they added McCabe on the back end, but don't rule out one last little move with that first round pick they acquired from Washington to bring in a Jacob Chychrun.
That would be that'd be a solid move for them to add Chychrun to their defensive depth. That would be big. That'd be really big for them. And I'm rooting for Toronto this year. I want them to finally get past that hump. I know it's fun to root against them because of their history with the first round. It's funny, but I actually really would like to see Toronto make that step. Matthews is such an unbelievable talent. It's because he's so great, so fun to watch. I want to watch as much of that guy in this postseason as possible.
Don't forget Mitch Marner.
My stance on Mitch Marner, and it's not a popular one, but I think Mitch Marner is a better player than Auston Matthews, all around player. Auston Matthews has a better shot and maybe a better pure goal scorer. Yeah, but Marner,
Auston Matthews may have a better everything than Mitch Marner, but Mitch Marner's still better.
I like Mitch Marner's game better. I think he has a more complete game, and I think it shows the way he sets his teammates up, and is able to not just score but see the ice the way he does is truly special. I think it's what makes him special in Toronto. which is, Austin Matthews is an amazing goal scorer, probably outside of McDavid, the best pure goal scorer like right now running as far as these kids go. Maybe Alex Ovechkin excluded, but as far as that goes, him and McDavid are. The thing about Ovechkin is he's not as exciting to watch as far as like he's gonna run through you. He's gonna score from his office. He's still got that shot that's gonna surprise you. But man, watching Matthews play right now is it's the only person more fun to watch. I'd say is McDavid than watching Matthews with the puck and the amazing things he can do. My love for Marner stems from his ability to set up his teammates and create space for his teammates, not just score goals. I like his complete game better than Matthews. That's my point with Marner, and I think that between the two of them, Toronto's set up offensively beautifully. Their defense is just what needs to be solified for them. I
wasn't trying to go on a Mitch Marner tangent here, buddy. I just
I love.
I know you do.
I love Mitch. He's one of my personal favorite players to watch. The way he sees the game and the way he can make it look like he's about to shoot the puck, and before you know it, he's already passed it and they've scored.
Yeah, Mitch Marner 2023 is Max Domi 2019 adjacent. Yeah, that's the way it is.
He got 20 tucks that year, I believe, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Someone said he would. I don't remember.
You did, yeah, you did. But then also you cap that one off with Montreal winning the Stanley Cup, Dallas being in there as well. And
cut
the show. Cut that. First of all,
cut that.
You know what I started watching the other day? I started just to go on a complete sidebar. I started watching Whitest Kids You Know the other day.
It's a great show.
It's on YouTube. There's tons of episodes on YouTube.
That's a great show.
And the first episode has like almost every bit that like is super quotable. Like it. Like it's got poop in his hands. It's got the Abraham Lincoln. It's got Timmy's dad die or Timmy's mom dying is but it's actually Scotty's mom.
My parents are dead.
Yeah, my parents are dead. It's it's great. And then that's great.
All right. Sidebar closed. Let's get back to hockey here, buddy.
No. Sidebar closed. Episode closing. We're finishing this one off. That's it. We're not continuing anymore. We're starting to wind things down with our new way of winding things. Yep. Beautiful. That's it.
It's great to be back.
It's great to be back.
It's great to be back. Should we let everyone know that we're on a new weekly schedule? I think the plan now will be transparent here. The plan now is to record Tuesday nights, and Vinny's going to get the show out hopefully Wednesday. You think you can do Wednesdays, or do you want to call it Thursday?
No, I'm going to say Wednesday. I'm going to try and do Wednesdays. The wife is up here. She's got a late schedule, so I'll stay up with her and I'll just post the audio there, post the video. We're going to try and do video as well on YouTube. So be sure to check out all of our social media platforms. We're there, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're everywhere at the Power Play Pod. We make it easy for you. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe. The boys are back, ladies and gentlemen. The boys are back. Anthony, it was a good time. I'll see you next week, right? Yep. See you next week. Same time, same channel, same rate, everything?
I believe so. I believe I had mentioned that earlier.
Oh, yeah. All right.
That Tuesdays are new recording night, and you're going to get the show out on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm going to get the show out on Wednesday. But hey, don't think this is not the same Power Play Pod before. There's going to be more Anthony Calamine Lotion Milani on everything.
Well, we don't have to do that. I just think our plan now is just to be a little more simple and straightforward, and we're going to try to just be consistent, episode a week. We're not going to try anything fancy. I think we tried to get a little too fancy before, like, overcomplicated things. Right now, back to basics. Us two, once a week, talking hockey. Especially now, the playoffs are coming. Things will be heating up. We're going to have a lot to talk about for the next couple months. Super excited to be back.
It's true love, ladies and gentlemen. Be there for us next Wednesday for another pod. Episode 2 of the new regime is going to be dropping for you guys. Be on the lookout for that. And again, don't forget to follow and subscribe to all of our social media platforms at the Power Play Pod. For Anthony the Backup, I am me. We will see you next week.
See ya.